Hey everyone, welcome again to season 2 of the Industry Show. I'm Nitin Bajaj and we are here in beautiful Manhattan Beach in the lovely home of Vandana Tilak. Hi Vandana, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And before we start, I wanted to take a moment and we've known each other for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And you've always been around as a mentor, as a family, and being the shining and guiding light for us for all the good things. So thank you for all you do.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure.
Same here.
And so take us to the beginning. Where were you born? School, parents.
Oh, jeez. Okay. So I'm a hardcore Mumbai.
Mumbaikar, yes.
Born in Girgaon. Can't get more hardcore than that. My grandmother lived there, so I was born there and raised in Mumbai in Vikhroli when my father used to work in Godrej. And mother would be churning out shows on stage with Bollywood films. So I pretty much grew up in an environment where everything was okay as a creative person, but you also had to have a lot of logic and practicability and pragmatic where my father was concerned, because he would always say, show me something objective.
Right.
So that's a good place to start, I think.
Good mix of culture and kind of the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes.
Nice. So what was your favorite sport or activity growing up? I mean, we know you're a great singer.
Yeah. Well, hands down cricket. We used to always have a building full of kids when we were growing up, and so we were always playing cricket downstairs. It wasn't a great place to play anything else because it was a kind of a long ground that we had behind the building, and so it was always cricket. I also continued to play in college at JJ School of Arts. We had a women's cricket team, so I used to be there, and I think I was a captain, but I'm not quite sure. My friends would be able to tell me better. I still follow. We just visited the Melbourne Cricket Stadium when we were there, and it's awesome to see all the pictures of legends and Sachin Tendulkar's picture there. So, yeah.
Nice. Do you still play?
I still do when Ravi kind of calls me into going for some of the Sunday games. And yes, I do play. There's no other women besides me, but they don't mind, I don't mind.
And you get special attention. So.
You get special.
Nice. So you travel a lot and you just came back from a great visit down under. So what's your favorite city?
It always is the last city I've just been to. So I think right now it's Sydney. Okay. It's absolutely a gorgeous city. Visited the Sydney soap opera house.
The Opera House, yeah.
And the Harbour Bridge, and it's a very vibrant city. It's got a lot of young people, so it's got a lot of activities going on, lots of programs going on. It's culturally very diverse, ethnically very diverse. And we felt very much at home over there, so liked it.
Nice. So I'm kind of stealing questions from my rapid fire round.
Okay.
So if you were running for office, what would be your slogan?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I'm sure you've thought about it. You should if you haven't.
Tongue in cheek, I would say America has always been great and will continue to be always great.
Nice. What's your favorite song?
I would say Rahat Fateh Ali Khan's Naina.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. Any fears or scary dreams?
I tend to not have many fears. And scary dreams are just that. I don't have those too many either. Scary dreams usually are while I'm awake.
Nice. Okay, so you're a social entrepreneur, right? Yeah. So tell us, what does that mean to you?
Okay. Social entrepreneur to me is where you can, well, let me go back a little bit, where my grounding is more with Ayurveda. I studied Ayurveda, and unknown to what I was when I studying it, I realized that I have been following that philosophy all my life. So when you look at Ayurveda, you always are unique as an individual, as an entity, as a soul, but the universe around you is also a part of who you are, and you are part of the universe. So when you look at that standpoint and you put it in a more business or professional perspective, social entrepreneur means just that you work not just for you as a person. Yes, you make money, and then you are creative, and you are productive with your life, but it also means that there is something to go around besides what you make.
Right, and I like the approach of Ayurveda, which is you're an individual, you're different. So it's not a one size fits all, but the elements around you are still the same, but how they impact you is different.
Exactly.
So kind of goes to the same thing, how you treat people and how you interact with them.
And how you respond.
Right. Yeah. Nice. So tell us about Akshay Patra in like one sentence.
It's so easy. We feed children.
Yeah. For $15 the whole year.
$15 for the whole year. We have been doing this for 16 years now. And Akshay Patra is the biggest midday meal program in the world.
Right.
It's run like a professional business. The children are our customers.
Right.
And they are very happy customers right now because we always have been very conscious of quality. So we feed 1.6 million children in schools every day, 13,000 schools in 11 states.
Right. Yeah, and it's a great cause. I've been honored to be a part of it for almost 5 years now.
Yeah,
so
I think I recruited you.
Yes.
And
thank you for doing that.
You and the whole family.
So, how did you find out about Akshay Patra, and what kind of pulled you in the most? And I kind of know the answer, but we still want to hear it for our audience.
It can't happen, and it can't be a better story, because when we were living in Orange County, we just got a call one day at 3 o'clock saying Mr. Narayan Murthy ji is speaking in Newport Beach. Would you like to come and listen? I said, of course. So we did, and it happened to be an event for Akshay Patra. And so I heard it straight from the founder's words and from his mouth, and it was, of course, coming from him, it was absolutely inspirational. And you would think that once you were 10 days later, 2 months later, you would be kind of saying, okay, there are other things that I have a life, but it stayed on. Because I had been a volunteer in social organizations all the time, and so basically what happened was he showed us a map of India where the states were, and Maharashtra wasn't there.
Right.
So I said, Murthy ji, where is Maharashtra? And he said, well, maybe you can help us. So it kind of gave me a directive to just get into it.
Yeah, and you've been with nonprofits for as long as I've known you, but this is different, right? You were doing nonprofit work part-time along with the other activities you've been doing, but this is like a full-time thing for you. So like there must have been something that really drew you in. And then also, like, tell us, what do you do for Akshay Patra? You're on the board of directors, you're a director. Like, tell us a bit more.
What I do is basically we started with creating a brand for Akshay Patra. And what makes it different is that the fact that it's a very clear directive, it's a very clear focus. Can't be any more stronger or more powerful than feeding children.
Right.
And it is basically, it's about how you give. If you create a dependent, you are constantly having to go into it and make sure that they are taken care of. While if you feed a child, you're making sure that they go to school and they stay in school for the meals they get.
Right.
And with that, you are making sure that they finish their education, go to college, and there is a complete change in perspective, not for just the child, but for the family, for the community, and everybody else.
It just kind of spreads from there.
Yeah.
So, what is the primary problem that Akshay Patra is trying to solve? Is it, you mentioned kind of there is several things that kind of it touches, What's the root cause?
The root cause is what the founders started 16 years ago, and it still rings very true, is that children need to be fed. You cannot send them to school hungry.
Right.
They cannot focus. Not just children, we cannot focus when we are trying to work and we haven't had any meals. So if you actually, that's the root cause of everything. That's what Ayurveda also does, is to find the root cause, not the symptoms, not the disease. You treat the root cause of where it starts, and hunger is the root cause for everything. And India has the highest number of hungry children in the world, higher than all the sub-Saharan African countries combined. So it absolutely makes sense. What makes it really powerful is that it's a public-private partnership. The government of India gives 60%. We raise 40% because it's not easy to feed children, run kitchens. We run 27 ISO certified kitchens that are centralized and ship the food to all the children. It's not possible to do that. So we raise 40% of our $40 million budget. So the root cause is hunger, and clarity of purpose and focus has brought us here.
And also, I would think that given the amount of child labor that India has, it's also giving them an opportunity to kind of get away from that. So at least the parents don't have to worry about feeding the children. They can let them go and study something and learn something.
Yeah, we have had examples where children came to us. Now they have graduated from schools because of the food they were getting, and they are getting into PhD programs and engineering schools and becoming chefs, and it's what you wouldn't think that a government school child would do that. But
yeah, so now I think with 16 years there have been a few that have graduated out of it, and
we have alumni.
Right, yeah, that's awesome. So what are the main challenges for Akshay Patra as things are growing? I know there's a target to feed 5 million children every year by 2020. So what are the challenges getting to that stage?
The challenge always has been about sustaining. Once you build a kitchen, you can never stop.
Right.
And which we haven't done a single day. We have never had missed a day in our 16 years. So now we are in the process of adding 43 new kitchens all over India.
Wow.
We just opened one in Maharashtra finally.
Yes.
And we have permissions for adding more. So once you start, it's whatever number of children you have that you are feeding every day times $15, which is what it takes to feed a child for a whole year. You are looking at $15 times 20,000, 50,000 children. That's the annual revenue cost that we have to incur. And that cost is our cost. It's besides the government cost, which total comes to 32. So raising $15 per child for 1.6 million children every year.
And growing.
So if at 5 million, we'll be hitting that. There are some solutions that we have come up with where we don't have to raise, like Akshay Nidhi, which is a for-profit. So we use the underutilized capacity of the kitchens to run the kitchens, sell the meals to the bottom of the pyramid construction workers, city workers. And it's a huge benefit for them because they get a meal at something like 38-40 rupees per person.
That's like 50 cents. Yeah.
Yes, a full meal. And every meal that we feed currently feeds one child. As the numbers grow, it will be per meal 2 children, 3 children, because our per person cost drops. So.
Wow. So any challenges with there's a lot of political changes and social changes. So any issues with getting. I mean, this is a huge undertaking, right? You have to get the land, then you have to do construction, then you have to get permits to build out. So any issues along those lines?
There's always issues. There's always issues, but I think the answer is always in the patience that we have, and it's just being very, very diligent. If you look at the teachers who serve the food, the volunteers, the the people who cook in the kitchen, the kitchen workers, the truck drivers who transport the food, to all the people in the administration in Bangalore, to the founders, 5,700 people
Wow.
have only one thing to do every day,
Nice.
is to feed the kids.
Nice.
So
There's a lot of goodwill that goes
Yes.
into it. And then, of course, the support people that are donating, and the donor community kind of steps in and uses their connections, like you were drawn in, and you make the connections for the Maharashtra kitchens. Okay, so now switching gears to as you're going through making these connections, and you're meeting a lot of successful people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of CEOs. These people are like really busy, so you're also part of the Young Presidents organization. So as you meet with these people, what are some of the things that you have learned from them? And also what I'm personally interested in is, it looks to me like there's a lot of similarities between startup companies that are raising funds for their own startup, and you are going in and you're pretty much doing the same thing, right? Asking for investments from these donors. So how do you approach them, and then what are the things that you have learned from them?
Good question. I think what you learn from them is, don't take yourself too seriously. Because when you, in the end of the day, you go and talk to them, you don't have huge problems to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
At your level, no matter what age you are at, you get the problems you can solve. So if you get a huge problem, it means that you're capable of solving it.
Mm-hmm.
If you just keep that in mind anytime, you realize, and you go and talk to your mentors, say, or some of the very successful people that I come to meet. They have an outlook that it just takes time, it just takes patience, and if you're not afraid of hard work, then it will get done. So when you go and talk with people and ask them for money, for example, it's not an ambiguous cause. It's a very simple cause where the numbers make sense,
Right.
And you can see that you have something that will translate from their dollar that gets translated into something very worthwhile,
Right.
very productive, very efficient.
And something tangible, they can see the results right away.
Exactly.
Right.
So they are not giving into something.
Mm-hmm.
They are participating in something.
Right.
They are actively sharing the success of an organization that does what it says. And so you have people from the corporate world especially. It's not very difficult to go and make a presentation and get an answer from them. If I have ever heard a no, it's nothing related to Akshay Patra. It's something else. So if I go somewhere, if you look in my drawer, you will find Ziploc bags full of cash. Where if I've gone on planes or gone and been somewhere and somebody will say, what are you doing? And I will say, well, I'm working for this, and they'll say, well, here's all the cash in my pocket, here's something for you. I said, so usually I have like Ziploc bags full of cash. It's a very funny example, but I usually just write a check and send it over, but it's very common. So it's not a very difficult thing to understand. It's not very difficult. The running of this organization is huge. It's a very big establishment, but I think Sridhar in Bangalore, Sandeep, they do an amazing job.
Right.
They are all from the corporate side.
Right.
We
Yeah,
don't-
so
we don't.
they know how to be lean, but at the same time, how to be really big with their hearts and the cause and the purpose. It's an amazing mix of the both sides of the extremes.
And their development side. If they
Yeah.
said they have to meet these revenues for this quarter, they do. Simple as that.
Nice. So, is there in the non-profit side of the world? Obviously there are so many causes, so many non-profits, and a lot of them are, I guess, overlapping in some cases. Right? So, how does what's the competitive scenario?
Well, we do support a lot of different organizations. Not as much as Akshay Patra, on a much smaller scale we do. And we're always there to work and help them grow. Uh, I have had a lot of people come to me and say, "How do you do this?" And we freely share information.
Right.
Even if it's fundraising, I do. Uh, we also share our technology for the kitchens. Right. And if tomorrow you were to say, "I want to start Akshay Patra, give me the roadmap," we'll be very happy to share it with you. So there we could be absolutely ecstatic if there were 3 Akshay Patras running around. So competition-wise, I think I've never ever in my life have competed with anybody. It's always with yourself. It's always with yourself. You start with a goal of, let's say, we want to raise $500,000 in Los Angeles, or for the US, this is what we want to raise. And every year you try to get better. So there is your edge. You always have to be better at something the following year, because you have something that you have done. If you have success and you have clarity, then you should be able to repeat it and build on it.
No, that's a great way of putting it. Like you're only competing with yourself, in the sense that you have to keep getting better. But then also, what you said about sharing the technology that Akshay Patra has. I know there's like a lot of innovation that has been done in the way the kitchens are developed and how the efficiencies are brought in using gravity and using like 100,000 rotis in that's all innovation in-house, right? So and that's freely available to any other non-profit that wants to use it within or outside of India. So that just kind of shows how selfless the whole cause is. Again, really thank you for making me a part of this.
Of course.
Making us a part of this, I should say.
We can go out and recruit a few more people.
Always.
Yes.
We only have 100 volunteers right now.
We have only 100 volunteers, yes.
So, as you were kind of getting into going out and helping others, did you use a coach or a mentor along this process? Or not even just for Akshay Patra, you've worn many different hats. You're a Ayurveda practitioner, you're a film producer, and you run with Ravi, one of the most successful organizations that I know of. So, who were your mentors along the process? Were there any?
It's difficult to answer the mentor question, essentially because when we moved here, we didn't know a single person in Delhi.
Right.
That's 33 years ago. Fast forward to now, I have more mentors now than I had ever had before, because thanks to Akshay Patra, you get to meet a lot of people. But inwardly, you always follow the role models you have had all your life. So it would have been my father, my mother, my uncle who used to work in the rural Adivasi areas in Maharashtra. He's still a legend there. Nobody has written about it. There are hardly any pictures or videos of him working. But to start an organization from scratch and to realize at that time that children need to have food, to go to school, and he also built hostels for children. That was the step that I would, say, if you were to really think about it, you would partner up with an organization where there would be a hostel for children, so they would be able to focus on their studies. So this organization, he started knowing that children need to get a meal, but also that they were coming from very rural areas. So walking 5 kilometers for a child is not feasible every day. So they used to miss school, go out on the farm, show up to school one day. He started hostels for them. And now it's an organization, after he's passed away, with everything from elementary to a university. The children in rural Maharashtra, there is 90% graduation rate. 90%.
Wow.
And they
That's
have
unheard of.
Yes, and they have numbers in the statewide exams.
Wow.
They have ranking. So it's a first hand look, but personally my uncle would you would see his very gruff demeanor of how he would interact with people there. It was a no nonsense thing, and I actually laugh at what I heard Murthy say in one of his interviews recently. Is that in God we trust. Everybody else needs to bring data, and I realized that exactly that's what I've been thinking all my life. There is no subjective thing when it comes to either your professional work or as a professional charity. It's all hardcore numbers that you have to work with, and at the end of the day, you can always appeal to people about their own experience with hunger or education. But I think it's the numbers that make sense and have to make sense.
So talking about numbers, have there been any experiences that you have either been personally involved with or any others that you have known? Have you seen kind of the difference between the times that they've succeeded or failed, and how has trust and the kind of the analytical side of things played a role in it?
I think success and failure in my mind are the same thing. One bruises the ego, one nurtures it.
Yeah,
they're just
that's
vectors in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
But you learn from both.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn from both. You cannot just say I failed and you didn't learn anything from it, because then the cause and the need for failure is gone.
Right.
You need to fail.
Yeah.
Same thing with success.
Mm-hmm.
If you have succeeded, your clarity should be such that you should be able to see why you did it.
Right. So you can repeat it.
And repeat it.
Right.
Or you could just sit back and say, hey, everybody thinks I'm a great, amazing person, and here's what I did. And in that whole thing, it just becomes an illusion that you cannot understand what you learn from it. So you learn from both.
And you become a one-hit wonder of sorts.
Yeah. Right.
So you pretty much got lucky and that's it.
Yeah.
So, you've been doing so many different things, you're impacting so many different lives, and but what is it that drives you, right? I mean, you could have just sit back and relax and enjoy life as is, beautiful, view of the beach. Like, I would kill for this kind of a view. So what drives you?
I think it's focus on what I do, and even though you could see me running around doing a lot of things and hosting events, I'm an introvert at heart.
I don't believe that.
So yes, I am an introvert, and I prefer to sit in my house and work off of a computer and do things. But what drives me is something that I believe in, and it doesn't take very long to convince me if there is a good reason at heart. With Ayurveda, I learned I needed to study it because there's so much things that we are experiencing in the U.S. all over the world, where food is not what it used to be.
Right.
And when I came to the U.S., I didn't know how to cook, didn't know a thing about how to make a meal, and you basically learn from it. So that became my focus early in life, about what it is and what it takes to feed your family and the children and make sure that it's good and it's healthy. And I think I once saw a jar of pickled pork feet on a thing and started reading labels. First, I think second day in this country, I saw that jar on some grocery store counter, and I said, "Oh gosh, I really need to read what's in this food." So I became a label reader. I still am, and but Ayurveda kind of brought a lot of focus into what not just food, but what life is about. It's a very deep-rooted philosophy in finding yourself. Realizing who you are in this whole scheme of things, and how relationships work, how family dynamics work, and my other teacher, John D. Martini, helped me do that too also.
Yeah, and I've read about De Martini. There's like several practitioners, and you kind of get trained in kind of the philosophy of, but Ayurveda kind of takes you to the same path, right?
Yes,
So,
he's a Westerner who kind of put all this Vedic teaching into a spreadsheet. That's how I like to call him.
Brought it to the West.
White man who would do that, right? Yeah, he's amazing. But it's a very clear way of doing it.
Nice. So, in terms of you're kind of making a lot of investments in lives. Where have you invested in other entrepreneurs or other startups?
Not yet, but we might be. But we haven't found something that we would.
Okay, and kind of looking at it from the other side of the philanthropical aspect of things. What do you think is kind of the message for why should people give?
Because they can.
Okay, it's a simple and great way to put it.
Simple answer. I mean,
Yeah.
you've everybody I think makes 10% more than they can.
Mm-hmm.
They should,
Right.
or they do. So give it to somebody who really needs it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, it's you don't just give, you receive in return. It's not possible to
Mm-hmm.
give something away without getting something back.
Right.
And the longer answer is that your wealth to you,
Mm-hmm.
and what I think is wealth are subjective
Right.
answers.
Right.
So for a mother sitting at home, her whole wealth is her children.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, I'll give you $10 million, would you give me your kids? She said, no, this is my wealth.
Right.
So same thing, it changes for every person. So for anybody, when they think their wealth also includes other people,
Mm-hmm.
it includes giving to people who can't and giving them a leg up, then you will give.
Right. And it kind of it's a cycle, right? So what you give out is
Comes
coming
around.
back and impacting you in one way or the other.
Comes right.
And in terms of, do you think Indians give enough? Like that's always something that I personally compare. Right? Living here, I can see so many successful people they kind of announce as they, they're more involved in the society, I guess, compared to what I've seen with the Indian community. So what are your thoughts?
Well, Indians as an ethnic group in the US are very, very well off.
Mm-hmm.
And they do give a lot. I think they can do better.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can do better.
Right.
It's what you feel you need beyond just hoarding and keeping and saving. Of course, you have to save for a rainy day. But if you consider that there are people on this planet that you can help,
Mm-hmm.
then you would.
Right.
My two of my teachers actually don't believe in charity. Osho and DeMartini do not believe in charity because simple answer from them is that you create dependence.
Right.
But the other side also says that you need to kind of be able to save something for yourself, but also save something for somebody
Right.
else. That
Right.
is.
Yeah, and it's also that you're not creating dependence. That you're helping people that may not be able to get there,
Yes.
and it's not like they don't want to. It's just that they cannot. There are so many different circumstances. So, yeah, that's a great thought. So, any advice for our entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs? What would you recommend?
Hard work. That's it. Then don't be afraid of failure. Like I said, failure is just a stepping stone always.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you are learning to cook or whether you are learning to play cricket or you're learning to be an entrepreneur or want to be an established entrepreneur,
Mhm.
I think you're always limited by what you think you are capable of doing. So you have, there's tons and tons of things out there on social
Mhm.
media about what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about just knowing who you are at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what works for you, what's good for you, where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't have that thought process. So, talk to your better half, talk
Right.
to friends, talk to
People who really know you.
People who really know
Right.
you. Maybe your old school teachers
Mm-hmm.
who have seen you,
Right.
you know,
The
get
real
into
you.
fights
Yeah.
and tell you that, hey, don't take a partner. You will not be very happy, or you work better as a team.
Right.
Don't be a loner.
Right.
You know, you have a lot of people that you never thought of,
Mhm.
and who have known you since you were a kid, and who can say this is. But I think it's a lot of hard work and
Mhm.
clarity of purpose. Don't try to do too
Right.
many things.
Great. Well, on that great note, thank you once again for being with us, and really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, we have a question. So,
Okay. Sorry, I can't read from that distance.
so the question is, how much money is Akshay Patra raising in India compared to the US? So, like, as a percentage of the raise, how much money do we raise in the US? What percent of the money do we raise in India?
Out of the $40 million budget, 60% comes from the government.
Right.
But of the amount we raise
Mhm.
in the US and the UK combined is about 10 to 12%.
Wow.
We can do better.
Of course, yeah. But
Yes.
that's a great thing. So almost 80% or more than 80% of the money is from within the country.
Yeah.
And I think the CSR initiative from the government of India is kind of helping out with it.
It helps us a lot,
Right.
especially because now we can approach corporates and say,
Right.
here's your budget. And yeah, it has helped us a lot over the last few years.
But we have to make sure that we increase the contribution from the US.
I think it will happen. I think
Yeah.
it will happen. We are establishing a good brand,
Right.
and we are starting to see the chapters kind of
Picking up and-
Picking up, yes.
Right. That's a good goal for us.
Yes.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us. And I would like to thank our sponsors real quick. Bombay Made for these amazing mugs, custom mugs for personal or corporate gifting, and Sea Castle Insurance for all your business and personal insurance needs. Thank you again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.